Good afternoon and welcome to the Kerry Garden Show. Alan Finn with you back here in Boyles of Killorglin, and it's a little chillier, lads. The winds of change have arrived, the seasons are changing, and there's lots of things you can still be doing in your garden. We've got some tips from our gardening experts to get you through the next 15 minutes, so I hope you'll stay with us. Right now, gotta find those two experts, Trish and Jer. So here we are with Trish and Jer for this week's gardening show in a little kind of dull, slightly damper, a little chillier garden centre here in Boyles. How are you doing, guys?
Good. Very good. Definitely a change.
There has been a big change, Jer, hasn't there?
There is. You can feel it in the air.
You can feel it. I think, between having the old fires on in the evening and an extra layer.
That's it.
It's all part of it. So this time of year, we've got lots of tips to cover and we've got lots of things to do. But first and foremost, I guess we wanted to start with some questions, because obviously over the weeks a lot of you have been sending in questions, and we do apologise for not always getting to them when we can. But we've got a few questions here now from listeners that we're going to throw at you guys. So, Jer, I'll start with you. This one for 5 points. A Killorglin caller was asking, what is the best time for planting laurel?
You can plant laurel any time of the year. We have it potted here 12 months of the year. This is, and early spring, late spring would probably be the best time.
So this time and
the springtime.
Okay, so either side of winter.
Try and avoid the summer, because you just be too dry and be a little bit more money, you'll be under a little bit more stress. So when the plant is dormant, so it's kind of dormant from October through to March. You can also get it bare rooted as well, and the bare rooted season we'll be talking about a little bit more in a couple of weeks' time. Goes from November through till March. So that's when you get no soil on the root. It'll just come literally in a plastic bag.
Okay.
So that'll be a good time of the year as well to plant it. So yeah, that goes for most hedging, Brazilinia, the likes of your beech. All that can be planted from now through till March. Okay.
While we're talking about moving and planting, there was another one here, because a North Kerry listener was also on to ask to know, what's the best time to move shrubs and lilies?
Yeah, so again, you want the plant to be dormant. So let's say if it's a deciduous shrub, wait until all the leaves are gone off the plant. So usually kind of November is a very good month for moving plants.
Moving plants and shrubs. Okay.
Yeah, you see, you want to move up when they're going to be under less stress.
Less stress, absolutely.
So November would be that time when they would be too stressed out.
Okay, good. Okay, now Trish, one for you. A West Kerry caller and is looking about garden fertiliser for autumn, and he also wants to know what's a good weed killer for driveways that's safe for pets and animals.
Okay, well, with fertiliser, like for shrubs and all that, it's too late to actually put down fertiliser now, because you don't really want to be boosting on any new growth.
Okay.
So the best thing you can do if you have shrubs and you think they need a bit of a feed for the winter time is to mulch them with a good compost. So again, it depends on the variety of the shrub. So if it's rhododendrons, azaleas, camellias, you mulch that with an ericaceous compost. If it's anything else, you could use farmyard manure, horse manure, well rotted. We have it here for sale in bags as well. Or else use your own compost as well. So that would be what you'd put on this time of the year. But definitely you wouldn't be putting on a granular fertiliser.
Okay. And for the weed killer, then we have two products that we've actually brought up here. We've Weed Off, which is an organic one. And
yes, he was asking for safe for pets and all that. So that's an organic, and it's the Wipeout. It's the Weed Off one.
Wipeout. Okay.
And the other one, then, if you want to get rid of moss or algae, like if all your pats now and things, with all the rain that we've been having recently, just like that, they've gone black or they've gone green, and the moss off would be quite good for that.
Okay, excellent.
And both of these products are organic as well. So
okay, so that means they're good, safe for pets and non-toxic. Great. Okay, and this is an interesting one, Trish. A listener got his sister a kiwi tree as a gift. It was only a twig, and she planted it in a polytunnel, but it actually thrived, but never gave any fruit. It was meant to be planted outside against a sunny wall. It's called a creeping jenny. Would you have any advice? So a kiwi fruit, that's an unusual one, isn't it? Yeah,
like that now, I suppose, is an exotic fruit. It's like the lemons and the oranges. They all need heat and sun. We don't necessarily always get that in Ireland. Now, when she was saying up against the sunny wall, she has it in the polytunnel, so that's fine, because that'll actually generate more heat and sun.
Yes.
Now, the reason I suppose why it's not fruiting is that it's putting on all this growth you need to prune it back during the summertime. And what you do is you cut back kind of a lot of the wispy growth or the new growth back to a couple of buds, and they will produce what's called fruiting shoots.
Okay.
And they will fruit that much better then as well. But it's the same with your lemons and your oranges. I suppose this time of the year, if they have been outside in a nice sunny spot, make sure to bring them in now, because it's getting too cold at night time for all of them. So just to protect your exotic fruits.
Okay, excellent. And I guess exotics is always good, you know,
Does,
to have it. even it's just something you don't even think of, but it could be there. But like that, as you said, they're focusing so much on growth and
on
their own
growth,
fruit.
yeah, because you've got the heat in the tunnel, and all it's doing then is just putting on loads and loads of growth. If she wants to give us a ring or call in, we can go through it in more detail with her.
Excellent. Okay, now let's move on to some tips for this week. With this time of year comes a lot of weather changes. There's a couple of things you need to kind of think about in the garden. What sort of things should people be thinking about?
I start off anyway with the roses. They'll be kind of this time of the year just to keep them in check.
Okay.
If roses have put on a lot of growth and they're kind of, the stems are gone a bit too big, it's to take the weight off the rose. The advantage of taking the weight off the roses, it's not going to be rocking in the wind when we get them stormy weather. And when we get that windy weather, and if they are rocking, the root system is kind of waving, and the plant is not going to do any good. So just get your secateurs out and maybe cut it down to about half. In the springtime, then you can cut it back a little bit further. And I suppose with the rose then as well, Trish mentioned it there with the top dressing. A good farmyard manure, a good horse manure, top dress that around the plant. That'll feed the soil, and in turn you'll have a better rose next year.
Okay, that's great.
And I suppose the other thing as well with the roses, and with a lot of deciduous trees as well, they're all going to be starting to drop their leaves. So if a rose has the likes of black spot, or if there's fungus on any trees, just make sure you rake up them leaves and dispose of them. Don't put them into your compost heap, because that's going to lead to more problems. It's going to lead to more problems later on. So maybe put them into an area of the garden, or dispose of them in a safe way if possible. And that leads you onto your lawns then as well, with the likes of the leaves.
They're getting a bit soggy, Jer.
They're getting a bit soggy. Yeah, but if you're noticing that it's getting very soggy already, it might be no harm to go out and get the pike out and just put a couple of forks into it, just to improve the drainage.
Because I remember you saying sometimes what can happen, especially if the garden is walked on a lot over the summer, it can get very compacted. So then as soon as the rain comes down on top, it actually can't go through.
Can't go anywhere.
So that's a good time to fork it.
Fork it now while it's loose, and any big holes in it, you can just put in a bit of grit, and that'll just improve the drainage as well. And leaves then as well. We have the blower there. We have a still blower.
I see that. Yeah, no, it's one of the battery operated ones.
That's the one with battery, and we've got petrol there too, if anyone's looking for the petrol. But keep the leaves off the lawn this time of the year, because that's only going to encourage moss and different problems later on. So get out maybe every 2 weeks. We got the rakes there as well, and just give it a quick rake. You don't have to pull up every leaf, but just to take the heavy stuff off.
The heavy stuff off. Okay.
Well, I suppose with leaves as well, like you can compost them as well.
Okay, you can. Obviously, you have to watch for the black spot, though.
Yes, but say if you've got the trees now are shedding their leaves, like the oak or the sycamore or anything like that. If there's nothing underneath the trees, you can actually leave them there, and they'll rot away down, and they'll actually give nutrients to the tree as well. But as Jer was saying, the likes of the lawn, you do have to rake them up from that, and you can put them into a compost bin separately, or just get pallets and put chicken wire around it and put them into that. It usually takes about a year for the leaves to break down and come into a lovely compost. Sometimes to say as well, the likes of the bigger leaves, maybe like the sycamores, is to shred the leaves. So if you're going over it with a lawnmower at the higher setting, that's shredding the leaves, and obviously when they're shredded then they can break down that bit quicker. Another thing as well, if you have the time to do it, if you've got rhododendrons and camellias, if you've got pine trees or oak trees in the garden, they're more on the acid side, so they would be perfect for putting under your rhododendrons and your camellias.
Okay, those leaves.
Those actual leaves.
Right, okay.
Whereas if you've got a beech leaf, you say you've got a beech hedge and it's all shedding its leaves, they're more on the alkaline side.
Okay.
So now we're getting really technical.
It's really technical,
but look,
it's interesting
if you don't have time for that and they're all mixed together, they're not very high in acid or alkaline.
Okay, it's not going to do any kind of major damage or anything.
No, it's not. But usually if you've got big pine trees and stuff like that, they would be very acidic, all right. So you could put them underneath And we'll compost them first and then use that compost then underneath your rhodos or your camellias.
Okay, brilliant.
So,
okay, that's very interesting.
I suppose another thing as well, a lot of people are wondering, can I plant shrubs this time of the year? Can I plant trees?
Can we plant? Yeah, even
Can
like
we plant anything?
anything? Yeah. Well, last week, we covered lots of winter colour, which was
That's
fantastic.
right,
So
but
I see you've actually got some little pots here as well. Are we?
We have, we've got up, as we said before, we can do up pots for you, or if you come in and you've got your own pots, just bring them in, we can do them up for you. But we've ones here for sale in the garden centre and they're already done up. We've nice little carnations in the middle, we've got little pansies, they'll flower right up until next April, May. There's a couple of bulbs put in there as well, like the dwarf little narcissi, so they'll be an extra little surprise then in the springtime. And you've got your winter heathers then as well, so they're nice as well. And with them we would put in a slow release fertiliser, so there's no need to be feeding them with the tomato feed or Miracle Grow throughout the winter time. The slow release fertiliser releases it gradually over the next couple of months, and just keep them barely moist. Don't overwater potted plants.
They don't need much watering, I think, at the moment.
But as we were saying before, if you've got that in the windowsill, maybe the eave of the window might be blocking the rain. So just barely keep them moist, and they'll be quite happy then for the winter time.
And what happens if they actually do get a bit of a drowning or anything like that? Was there anything that people can do?
Well,
or is it
like that now, you have to make sure that there's holes in the base of
bottom.
it anyway.
We spoke about that, absolutely.
If they do get very, very wet, maybe take them down or pull them inside, that they'll actually dry out that little bit more, because if they're swimming in water, they're going to rot out of it.
When we're potting up here, we put about 2 or 3 inches of grit into every pot we do, just to improve that drainage a bit more. And if they're in a very wet spot, we'll actually mix the grit through the compost as well, just to improve the drainage as well.
Okay, very good. Now I see over here as well too, Jer, we've got some ground pegs and we've got some staples, we've got some basically some ties to keep things tied down during the windy winter.
We are over the last few days there has been a couple of windy nights, so if there is anything that's kind of loose outside, any trees or any shrubs that you think that need to be staked, now is the time to do it. It's too late when the first storm called whatever it's going to be this year.
Yeah.
So just a few tricks. It's definitely important to get a good
ties.
And they have to be rubber as well. Don't get anything.
I know. I got given out to from my. I know.
I'll bring that up now. Just in a few moments. Now.
Damn it.
But no. So even a bicycle tube, anything like that. But not the cable ties, anything like that. They're not going to be we have adjustable ties there, but definitely something rubbery like this. And you want to do a figure of 8 then.
Figure of 8.
So do it around your post like that, and then you're literally going around your plant like that. So the figure of 8. I'll just do it loosely there as well. It'll be like that. So literally in 8. And they come in different heights then as well. So different sizes. So 45 mil they come in, and they come in 60 mil as well.
And they come in packs?
No, these come loose.
Single, so if you only need 1 or 2,
they're not overly expensive.
Okay, good.
But definitely, and a good stake as well, either 2 to 3 to 4 inch, depending on the size of the tree. If it's only a sapling that was planted in the last year or two, a 2 inch stake will do. And if it's a mature plant, 7 or 8 years old, you'd definitely want the 4 inch, and they come in 4s, 5s and 6 foots, and we supply all them as well. The adjustable ties are there then as well. So these are for the likes of your climbers, your roses and things that you want to bring back onto the trellis, or if you have bamboo canes to strap your plants onto them. These are adjustable. So once you go in, you can pull it out and can remove it. So try and keep away from the cable ties. We see it so often.
Because what happens is you put it and you forget about it, and that's what does the damage.
It does, because even you want to be checking your trees as well. If the ties are too loose in it, what's happening then is that the stem of the tree is rubbing against the stake, and obviously then that's ripping off the bark and cause diseases coming in. And again, if you have trees planted a couple of years, check the ties aren't too tight, because it's doing the opposite then. It's biting into the bark, and that will actually snap the bark then as well.
True, do the damage.
I suppose the last thing then on the kind of the windy conditions would be your ground cover. If you don't have stone on your ground cover, or if you have artificial grass that's not well pegged down, we have the staples for the grass,
the artificial grass,
and that'll do for your fabric as well. Or if you see any loose parts, then we have the plastic pegs as well. And again, it's just all about securing everything down for the winter.
Yeah, so it doesn't blow away and all your hard work is not lost. Listen, guys, that's great. Lots of great tips this week. We're out of time, but listen, thanks very much for answering the listeners' questions and, of course, giving everybody lots of things to think about, even when this weather does change. We will, of course, be back again next Saturday here from Boyles and Clorglen. Trish and Jer, thank you very much. And until next time, happy gardening.